What is up, everyone? If you haven't already guessed, yes, I do have the Rudolph the Red-Nosed action going on. And before you go to any kind of whatever's, is just know that I don't partake any recreational, mind-altering substances because they're so mainstream. Everybody does it. Actually, apparently, I got an allergic reaction from the pollen outside, and it causes my already tender and sensitive nose to itch. So I scratch my nose and the tenderness takes into effect. Um, it's frustrating, and I do not like it. I look like something from a old cartoon back when they used to like do the rosy cheeks and a rosy nose. But yeah, let's get this thing going. All right, what is going on with Tennessee? Like seriously, like I don't like with the drag ban going on. I really feel like people have it's easy to forget that Tennessee, the GOP of Tennessee, ultimately tried to legalize child marriage, and the only reason why that bill didn't take is because of national outrage. It's like had like the rest of the country not been like, yo, this is not okay, you would probably have people trying to marry kids in Tennessee right now. And you know why they did it as kind of a a middle finger to gay marriage. That was their attempt to challenge the federal bill of the people of the LGBTQIA community to okay. I want y'all to understand when it comes to that community, I consider myself to be an ally, but LGBTQIA is like that's too many syllables for letters. Okay, I am working on a story where in I'm working on a story that involves a collapse of society where people started establishing their own towns or cities among each subculture, and the LGBTQIA community in my story, they're called alters because people call them alter sexual or alternate sexualities. And so rather than because I'm tired of saying LGBTQIA community, I'm going to start saying alters instead. Now, I want you to understand, I don't intend on being offensive when I say the word alter. That's just my way of acknowledging that community. It's sort of like putting them all together because to understand specifically what's going on here, because like that's just way too confusing. Like I'm pretty sure that people within that community itself is just trying to find better ways to define this thing, define like a better word for it. But for me, I'm just gonna say alters. So I apologize if that's offensive or upsetting to anyone, but LGBT, say it 3 times fast, guys. So the alters, it's really weird that Tennessee has something against the alters, and it's weird because like as a means to do that, they were trying to legalize child marriage, and then they couldn't because of national outrage, and then they try to go a completely different route by banning drag shows. To which somebody has brought up to me, well, they're treating drag shows like how they treat strip clubs, and it's like, yeah, but it's still a ban. It's still bigotry. It's still something that's kind of going after them for what they do. Like I've never seen people. One thing I always hate is when people try to make it seem like oh no, the alter community, they're trying to turn our kids and all our kids, think about our kids. Look, as I said before multiple times, when I was a kid growing up, I used to watch on TV guys basically forcing themselves on women that initially wanted nothing to do with them, only for that woman to give in, and then like kiss them at the end of the movie, just to kind of, as a means to just sort of like get this guy to stop. You know what I'm saying? And that was pushed as romantic. You know what I mean? Like I've seen a TV series where like literally almost every episode is a dude just like, like just one kiss, just one kiss, just one date, just one date, just one kiss, just one kiss. And the women will say no every single time, and it will keep going. and they would keep going. You know what I'm saying? And this was pushed as just the she's playing hard to get, and it's like, does no mean no to these people? And then as time went by, and at the same time, I would watch cartoons of a cartoon rabbit dressed up as a lady to trick a guy who is actively trying to kill him. Just as humor. And this is stuff I saw as a child, and at no point did I ever see any of this and go, you know, I should totally put on a dress and start kissing guys. No, not once. Not once. So it's really weird that, like, they're still pushing this idea that, like, first off, I wanted to talk about this because, like, I sympathize with the altar community a little bit because they are, like they're being marginalized and mistreated just simply because of who they are. You don't choose to be that way. You know what I mean? I just, like, with everything that's going on in the world for them. You know what I mean? With everything that's going on in the world for them. In the world. Not just in America, but in the whole world. Why would you just wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I feel like being that way. Like, you literally are putting a target on your head and walking outside. And just if somebody, like, because if the wrong person finds you, they're going to harm you. They're going to harm you further. You know what I'm saying? Just because they don't like you. It's not because you did anything to them. It's just because they don't like you. You just happen to be in their vicinity, and suddenly now that's your problem. You know what I mean? Like, nobody chooses to be that way. So and I don't think nobody is made to be that way either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, like, it's not like one day you just wake up and you're straight, and then the next day you're gay or whatever. I don't think that's how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody, like, one thing I kind of don't like is the fact that people really don't take into consideration exactly how things tend to grow over time. There's no humongous change that happens in an instant. If you think that looking at a picture of two guys kissing is going to turn you gay, you probably already had those feelings from the beginning, and now that picture is just making you think, oh no, what if I'm, you know what I'm saying? Because at no point has it ever, it's just weird to me just how, just how passionately closeted the biggest homophobes are. Because every single time you look at one, every single time you hear about somebody just ultimately saying that they don't like the altar community, you find out that they're part of the altar community and they're in it, like, deep, like, really, really, really deep. Am I right, Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee, who is thirsting after young boys on the internet? The Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee. That's what all this is leading up to. The Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee is on Instagram, like, complimenting and giving props to these, these gay models, you know what I'm saying, who's showing butt and everything, and it's like, and he's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I want to just go ahead and take the time to point out real quick. On the internet, I have friends who are models and who are bodybuilders and who are, who just ridiculously look good. Like, I went to school with people who ultimately grew from these, normal looking kids to beautiful people. And, every so often I just give them props. But I'm that kind of guy who, if you took a picture, right, like, let's just say one of my friends, they took a picture of themselves, on a horse. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing I thought was, during zombie times, would you choose to, like, go places horseback riding, or would you walk? That was the kind of comment that I left on my friend's, like, model picture of themselves on a horse. And it was like, I do horseback riding. And I would be like, but what if the horse turns into a zombie too? Like, horses are already scary. Zombie horses are probably terrifying. And we had a whole conversation about that. I need to find that picture. That was years ago, though. But that's what I'm saying though. Like that's the kind of person I'm not the kind of guy who goes on a hot chick's picture and be like, oh my god, so hot, so sexy. Because as I've mentioned before in my thirst video, like I've been rejected so many times by women that if I look at a picture of a beautiful woman, the first thing that's going through my mind is they're not interested in me. They think that I'm ugly as hell. They probably have a boyfriend. Like all like there's no fantasies in my head where I look at a lady and go, yeah. Yeah. No, that's not me. But that's one thing though. It's like that's the thing that, you know, but like this guy is doing this stuff and he's like and he's thirsting hard and he's doubling down too. So honestly, the thing that's going on in my brain when it comes to Tennessee is I feel like, you know, there's either a lot of closeted homosexuality going on in the Tennessee elected officials community, or they're all just doing this to bully the lieutenant governor, who is heavily closeted himself. 79. The thing that really stresses me out. Look, by all means, love who you love as long as they're not kids, right? But the thing that kind of bugs me about like the lieutenant governor thirsting at these people is, first off, you're anti-drag, you're you're homophobic, but you're also 79 years old thirsting after a dude who's 20, not 21, 20. I'm not saying that like, you know, he's like, I'm not saying that he's a pet or anything like that, but what I am saying is that like, you know, maybe it's just because of the fact that I personally like older women, you know what I mean? I'm you know, like the hypocrisy is there. I do think that older women are beautiful, but I also know that older women probably look at me and they go, "Oh my God, he's such a cute baby. I could never do anything to this." And I'm like going, "Please?" But this guy, he's 79 years old, and his defense is, "I'm a great grandfather. I ain't got no time to be like out here doing this stuff." And it's like, my guy, you are literally thirsting after a dude who's old enough to be your great grandson. Like, what is going on? Like, don't you think that, like, don't you think that there's some guys in 70-year-old range that you probably might find at least a little bit more attractive? You immediately go after the 20-year-old who you have been, like, DMing since he was 17? What is going on? Why is this okay? What's going on in Tennessee right now? Why is this happening? And why is this not being talked about more? This is a big deal, y'all. It's a big deal because your local governments are super important. Your local governments are super important. Your state governments are super important. Y'all need to pay attention to what's going on, like, in-house. The difference between the federal government and the local government is that the White House is always going to be, like, billions of miles away from you. But your, like, councilman, mayor, governor, whoever, they're probably down the street from you. And those guys are probably a lot more dangerous than anything that the national government will ever intend to do. I'm Christopher Titus, and this is not his show. I'm not Christopher Titus. I've been watching his show a lot too. I'm a big Titus fan. I'll probably get into that a little bit later. But love, peace, and happiness, success, and safety to everyone out there. And I hope y'all live to survive through sneezing season. Because I am not. This is painful.